projection.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing this week? I'm pretty good,
How
man.
are you?
We just got done, I guess, a few hours ago now, watching an absolutely outstanding World Cup final, man.
Oh,
I mean, one of the best soccer matches I've watched
man,
in a long, long time. Argentina beats
for sure.
defending champ France in penalties. Lionel Messi finally gets his World Cup title, probably cementing his status as the best of all time, certainly the greatest of our generation. Because
Yeah,
that gives him now World Cup
for
title,
sure.
Copa America title, multiple Champions League titles. He's done it all. Especially in the debate with him versus Ronaldo. That door kind of
Yeah, it's
got
kind
settled.
of
Yeah, I mean
muted at this
Ronaldo's
point.
getting benched and
Yeah,
cut by his club team. No one knows, he might go play in Saudi Arabia. Who knows?
yeah, yeah, and yeah, Messi just still
Mm-hmm.
top of everything. you know, so yeah, I think that's definitely been. You always get those debates, but yeah, it's interesting. When you have those debates, when you can actually, when they're playing at the same time, to actually get a definitive winner there. Because I know it's been going back and forth for the last 10 years or so about who was the better player, and I think we finally, definitely got the answer there the
For
last
sure, yeah,
couple of years.
and not only that, he was just on a winning team. He wasn't some old guy that they trotted out there because of what he'd done in the past. He was pulling the strings. Yeah, he was scoring goals. He was
Exactly.
just absolutely. He
All
was
right. Yeah,
top tier Messi. But a great game.
for
Argentina
sure.
went up 2-0 or 2-0. France stormed back the second half. Two quick goals, I think, within like 75 seconds of each other. Uh, go.
Yeah, that was crazy because when Argentina went up 2-0, I was like, man,
Oh yeah,
it's
I
kind
mean
of
France
shocked to
made
see
two
that.
first half substitutions. Took off Olivier Giroud, who is the all-time French leading scorer. They tried to switch it up, get some more, I guess, speed on that field, and it worked for them in the second half. They really wore down Argentina. Went to extra
Yeah,
time. Argentina scored again, and Mbappe again. He won the Golden Boot for his troubles. But he leveled it up and went to penalties, and Argentina was able to clinch it there. Messi just had the calmest, coolest, just rolled the ball.
man, he just
It was like looked
tapped
like
it
he
in.
was making a 3-foot putt, just like playing with his kid in the
All
backyard,
right,
trying not to kick it too hard. Just rolled it by him.
all right.
It's got to piss off that goalie
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's
Yeah, but
worked so well.
a fun World Cup. Despite all the off the field problems, shocking death of sports writer, soccer writer Grant Wahl out there. Who, if you very tough,
Yeah, that
he is
was tough.
almost the
Like,
voice of
wow,
American soccer.
definitely
Mhm.
is, and it has been for quite some time. You think? I mean, it's shocking to think that how many World Cups he's been at, and he's only 40. So I was counting that up. I was like, wow, he's really been covering this for basically his
Yeah, I mean,
whole
like
adult
I tried
life.
to think of it. He's not just a guy within the past few years that's kind of no. He's been up since we were probably just outside of college, maybe in it even. That I've been reading his stuff, or
Yeah.
for Sports Illustrated.
So basically, since he's becoming a since
Hmm.
he's been 18, I calculated that he's been
Hmm.
covering World
Yeah,
Cups
he.
like that. Wow.
So yeah, that bad loss to the journalism community and just the world in general. Great voice, great activist out there.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
tough loss in the middle of a. Ended up being a fun World Cup. There's still some problems aside,
Yeah.
but just a lot of great games. A really fun knockout round. Got these great semifinals.
I mean, you got to see
Hmm.
some big rivalries there. Got some England, France, and just the
Hmm.
Morocco
Yeah, the
story was pretty
most
cool.
successful African team ever in terms of yeah. Hmm.
African and
Yeah,
Muslim
representing
team. So,
continent Africa, representing
so that
Arab
was
nation, and they played. Yeah, and it wasn't a
yeah. So
fluke.
that
They
was
played very good football, very good soccer. Uh,
yeah.
tough
Definitely
defense.
did.
Just ran into a French buzzsaw. And again, you got to think as
Yeah,
good as
I mean
France
that's how.
looked this thing, they were still without. We mentioned multiple times Kareem Benzema, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, the best player in the world.
Yeah,
That's a guy who, if
right,
he's there, Olivier Giroud doesn't play much, and that changes that whole team. And then you got two
right.
midfield beasts, and Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante that didn't play. And France still made the finals. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Still made the finals, and really not a lot of questions. Well, I guess what was the toughest game
yeah,
before that? The England game. Want to peak grades, but yeah, I mean they definitely. It
yeah.
makes you
It's
wonder.
it'll
Wow.
be fun to see who
It's-
emerges next World Cup
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah,
If France keeps it going, I mean, Mbappe's young. The
exactly.
rest of the roster is a little more aging than he is. Uh, England's a
Right,
young, very
right.
talented team. They're itching to get. The Americans
Very
are
young
young.
team.
They should be back in form. So we'll see. Spain, they got upset by Morocco. We mentioned them. They're kind of a younger team. They need to find a striker, much like the U.S. does. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, Spain
Yeah,
has
there's
really
no
no
more Diego
scores.
Costa or Fernando Torres out there. Uh, but yeah, it'd
Exactly.
be fun to see if Morocco can keep it going next in 4 years too, and what all the teams do in between. And then next summer we'll have the women have their turn at, as the
Exactly.
U.S. will go for their third straight in the women's version. But that's good for that. We'll move on to the NFL, the old American football. As we are in the middle of watching the end of the first round games here, the early afternoon games. A couple good ones getting close now. Jacksonville giving your Cowboys some trouble.
Yeah, Jacksonville's. Yeah, they're about to
Yeah.
score a touchdown there.
Uh,
Looks like red zone. Yeah, I mean we were coasting. Yeah, but yeah, the
Jaguars hanging
Jaguars
around.
hanging around.
Houston for
But
the second straight week giving a top team trouble.
Houston, yeah, given, yeah, you have to, if Houston ever got it, if Houston could just get a complete, you know, franchise quarterback, they play with a lot of heart. They could get some talent, and you hate to see their running back have got hurt last week. There, I mean, he's had,
Damian
for
Pierce.
the
Yeah.
rookie, has had a heck of a, yeah. Damon Pierce had a heck of a season. You hate to have seen his season
Yeah,
end like
Texans.
that.
And they're almost doing it kind of perfectly. If you're a Texans fan, they're putting a lot of fight in. They're playing well. The young guys are playing hard, but then they lose, so they get the draft
But
pick.
they're also losing,
Exactly,
so they're not
exactly.
messing up the draft.
Right now, they're in the
Yeah, exactly. So you see you see that they're playing with effort. You gives you hope for the future, but at the same time, you're not messing up the
yeah.
top spot.
Someone joked last week. With the Cowboys, they were beating them until the last drive, and it's like Lovie Smith remembered, like, oh right, we need the draft pick, guys. Let them score.
Let
Let
me
them score.
say, or someone
Yeah,
called down and said, "Listen,
but quit
it's been
playing.
fun, play."
Yeah, so they still in the lead for the I guess Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud sweepstakes wherever they decide to draft as their next franchise quarterback.
Don't they? They have a couple of first round picks this year, don't
Well,
they?
they probably do
To
from the
some,
Deshaun Watson, all that mess. Yeah,
yeah,
the trade, and so yeah, we'll see how
that'd be
they do.
interesting. So,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
couple interesting trades. Like the Eagles are going to end up getting a top 5 pick from that horrible trade the Saints made, and then who else? Another good team's going to end up with a decent, like a top 10 pick because of a trade. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but it'd be interesting come draft time. But so we're going to switch it up a little bit.
All right.
We normally do our power rankings here, but they've become kind of the same thing every week now as we get toward the stretch run. So what we're going to do is we're going to go
All right.
through the playoff standings right now in each conference, and we're going to play a little contender pretender. So we'll just say what we think, talk a little about the teams, what their prospects are going forward. We can even throw in there contender, flawed contender, maybe those are teams that think have a
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl chance, but they need to fix something first. And then, of course, pretender is obvious, teams that might make
Mm-hmm.
the playoffs, but really you don't think have a shot to win. So we'll start in
Right.
the AFC. I'm just
Exactly.
using the live standings, so these do factor in the Thursday and yesterday's results. Or was there even a Thursday game? I don't know. That's
Yeah, it
right. Yeah,
was the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
49ers and
49ers.
the Seahawks.
Sorry. So top of the standings in AFC right now at 11-3 are the Buffalo Bills. They've clinched a playoff spot. I think we both agree that's pretty easy.
Mhm.
Pretender, yeah. No, con, con,
Pretender, yeah. No
contender
way.
for sure. They keep humming along. As long as
Yeah,
Josh Allen is out there healthy, just doing what he does. Yeah, like he just put the
oh
team
yeah,
on his back yesterday.
they're definitely in. Yeah, he did. And really, I mean, that was a game a lot of folks thought, man, they're going to just run through Miami. I guess the snow really didn't come into effect till late in the game, but maybe a little closer than folks had thought. Because, going into that game, everybody, man, they're going to get run through. But it actually ended up being a pretty entertaining game. But, yeah, solid win there. And it's looking like they're going to win the win the
Yeah, and
East
they're
again.
fighting for that number one seed in the AFC.
I'm sure. I think they had the
I do believe they do
tiebreaker
now.
over the
Yeah, we'll see
Chiefs.
once the.
Yeah,
Of
because
course, maybe they get some help from
yeah.
Houston today. Oh, fumble in the Philly Chicago game. All right. So speaking of those Chiefs, they are currently in the number 2 spot at 10-3. As we mentioned, they are playing a close one against Houston right now. Uh, Another
Yeah,
obvious
very close.
contender right there. Pat Mahomes just
Definitely
keeps doing Pat
contender.
Mahomes
Um,
things. The defense has improved a lot this year in the past few seasons.
right.
They kind of starting to get a running game out of nowhere all of a sudden with what's this guy's Pacheco. Um, I think he went down
Yeah.
earlier today though, but so we'll see how he is. But
Yeah. Main thing that worries me about the excuse me, the main thing worries me about the Chiefs is they're in a
mhm.
close game every week. It seems like no matter what they might get out to a quick lead and then it ends up being a barn burner in the end. But every week they're in a close game, and sometimes if you're in a close game every
Yeah,
week,
exactly.
eventually that burns you. I mean, it burned them a couple weeks ago against the Bengals. There, they're in a tough one again today. The last week the Broncos gave them a pretty solid test, considering where the Broncos are at. It's like the Chiefs find ways to win games, but it's always a close one. Sometimes that's good because you come to the playoffs and you've been in some tight matchups. You know how to win in those situations, but can go the other way as well real
Yeah,
quick. So
exactly. You play with fire enough, you'll come up against a team that really knows how to burn you, as you said, and it happened to them against
yeah,
Cincinnati, like you mentioned. And yeah, once you get in deep in the playoffs, that's harder to overcome. You don't get to play the Texans every week. We mentioned those Bengals. They are now up in the number 3 spot. They lead the AFC North thanks to
man.
Baltimore's loss against Cleveland yesterday. I'll get to them in a minute. Uh, but Bengals, I'm gonna say contender. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say contender. I mean, we saw him make a Super Bowl run last year, and it's everybody's healthy right now. Since Jamar Chase has come back, I mean, they really that
Mm-hmm.
offense has looked much better. They kind of look like the same team as they did last year at this point. So, I mean, yeah, you'd have to put them in that contender
Yeah, for
spot.
sure. Like you said, Jamar Chase coming back is huge for that team. They do got Boyd and Higgins are a little banged up for them. They both should play today, so we'll see how they look. Um, but yeah, that
Hmm.
offense is fully healthy. You get Joe Mixon, Sanjay P. Ryan, Hayden Hurst at tight end. There's so many weapons. Still a little trouble protecting Joe Burrow sometimes against, that could be a
Yeah,
matchup based thing against the wrong team. But yeah, that's when they're clicking on all cylinders. That's like you said, defending AFC champs. They've been there
yeah,
before. Just so many weapons, and now they are in the driver's seat for their division, which gets them a first round home game at least. So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, they're definitely.
I'm gonna see. All right, so 4 seed currently the leaders of the AFC South, the 7-6 Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna say pretender. Uh,
Yeah, they're
yeah,
not.
you pretender for you, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely pretender. I mean, it's just they don't. I mean, first of all. they have to. You have to have a number one quarterback to win in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Um, the running game can only carry you so far.
Mm-hmm.
Traylon Burks is hurt. And then, and I think, that they're missing the wide receiver more than ever. We see how
Mm-hmm.
well he's done in Philly this year. And, I think a bigger loss than maybe what they had thought. And I understand not wanting to pay him, but, the money he was looking for. And you would think sometimes you could move away from him. But I think they're finding out maybe we're a little more special than maybe they
Yeah, for
give him
sure. Maybe
credit for.
Traylon Burks will get on that AJ Brown
Maybe
level
they're
one day, but it's not this year. Yeah.
right, but not this year. No, they just don't have it. I mean, and really, outside of being in the AFC South, they're not winning any other
Mm-mm.
divisions in football. It's just a terrible
It really
division.
is. It's awful. And Derrick Henry can win you maybe a game or two in the playoffs. You just we saw it 2019 when they took out the Patriots and then the
Yeah,
Ravens.
right.
Behind him. But it wears you down eventually. You have to pass the ball in modern day NFL. And,
Yeah, you have to pass. 'Cause, once you stack that box, but that's the thing though. Like nobody, there's nothing that scares you. Like you challenge Tennessee, and you say, "Hey, we're gonna shut down your run, and we want you to pass," because no one's scared. No one's ever been scared of a
mm,
Tennessee Titan passing game. Like if you happen to lose to Tennessee because of their passing game, they're just destined
yeah,
to
yeah,
wasn't your day.
yeah. In the past, it's been one of those where they were able to use the play action and just have AJ Brown basically
Hmm.
outman people. Just go up, get balls.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's not
that's
there
not there
anymore.
right
Like we
now.
say, Traylon Burks, maybe one day he's built. He's a talented guy.
He showed a lot of talent,
Hmm.
but he's been
And he's
hurt
still
so
a rookie,
much this
even if he
year.
was. It's rare that you're a rookie.
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson's, Randy Moss's don't. There's a reason that they're special. Uh, but
exactly.
we'll move to number 5 seed, 9-5, Baltimore Ravens. As I mentioned, they lost to the Browns yesterday. Just a decrepit offensive
Mm.
performance, and I'm not even going to say flawed contender. I'm going to say pretender. Um, I just don't. The offense is horrible right now, with or without Lamar. They keep gambling for the past few years on
Mhm.
not getting a true number one receiver. They traded away Marquise Brown, and he became the number 3 receiver on the Cardinals. They don't have
Mhm.
they don't go after kind of like they used to have that specialty where they'd find like a big veteran receiver who was past his prime but still could really contribute, like a Steve Smith or Anquan Bolden, and they don't find those
Yeah,
anymore.
right. Anquan
Anquan
had
had
some
some
good
great
years
years. He was
there
a key to that
for
Super Bowl
sure.
run. Steve Smith, he was there a couple of seasons and was, the 2014 season was the best offense they had in the Joe Flacco
Hmm.
era, and he was a big part of that. They just don't have it this year. They gambled on Rashad Bateman being their number one guy. He's out for the season, and it's a bunch of practice squad guys and Deshaun Jackson behind him. And Deshaun
Yeah,
had one big catch a couple of weeks ago, but he's like 38 years old. You can't,
yeah.
yeah,
Deshaun is well past his
you can't
prime.
depend
Man
on
can't
him.
be a
And then
number
you
one.
guys, you got Devin Duvernay and James Prochet and Demarcus Robinson as your other guys, and it's allowing
Those
defenses to
years,
key on Mark Andrews, and he's like we've said, probably the second best tight end in the league. But if they're able to triple team him, yeah.
what can you do?
And then you got the biggest problem, Greg Roman, offensive coordinator. See, Warren Sharp, excellent NFL analyst, tweeted out yesterday just an amazing stat.
Mhm.
Both of the Ravens running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, were averaging over 7-8 yards a carry. The Ravens as a team were averaging something like
Mhm.
9 yards a carry, just running all over the Browns. And then he didn't run the ball in the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
Just did not. It's
Yeah,
baffling. It's just absolutely baffling, and he doesn't have a good passing scheme to begin with. But then you're down on a backup quarterback on the road, and even though Cleveland's down this year, that's always a tough game. They hate Baltimore, so they
all
always want
right.
to beat them.
All
And you're literally running
right.
all over them on the probably the league's worst run defense. Is one of the worst run defenses statistically in the past few seasons, and then you just stop
Yeah,
running the ball and you lose the game. It's it's baffling. And Harbaugh's made excuses for it in the past few years, but he's got to go. It's just It doesn't have to happen in season, whatever. At this point, I think it's a lost cause either way. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why the pretender, not even flawed. Do you agree with that?
Well, I would say I still have him in that flaw because I still believe Lamar is that special of a guy. If he when he comes back, he's supposed to come back Christmas Eve or New
Yeah.
Year's Eve. One of the he's supposed to be back, but I still have him flawed contender just because Lamar is such a special guy that I maybe I'm foolish at this point, but I still believe in him a
I
little
mean,
bit
it's true.
there.
He's
So
kind of like we mentioned with Derrick Henry. He's a guy that could just put a team on his back and win games for you out of nowhere.
yeah.
And again, their schedule helps them. Uh, they play the Falcons at home next week, the Steelers at home the week after that, and then they end the season. So those two very
Mm-hmm.
winnable games. They beat the Steelers last week. The Falcons are
Right.
obviously not a good team. And if you get Lamar back for both of
Yeah.
those, and you should win them, and then you go on the road to Cincinnati for the last week on a game that might decide the division, and they have the tiebreaker over
Might decide the
Cincinnati
division.
right now.
All right, with
hmm
the earlier win.
So the
Yeah.
earlier win and a better division record, I believe, is because Cincinnati's already lost 3 division games. The Ravens, that was their first division loss yesterday.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You might be right. I hope as a fan, as a Ravens fan, you're right. But I've just lost all hope in that offense right now. And the defense, I will say that since they added Roquan Smith, oh yeah, I
Has
think
gotten much
statistically
better.
their
Yeah.
top 2-3 defenses since they added Roquan Smith, they did blow that lead against Jacksonville, which is huge. But they are playing a lot better. We'll move on from them. Number 6 seed currently in AFC, the Miami Dolphins at 8-6. I'm going to put them in the flawed contender because that offense just at any moment, if they in the right conditions, they can break free. I mean, they had, Raheem Mostert had a great game for them last night, even in the loss. That's a guy, if they can really figure out how to involve him more in the offense and take the pressure off of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the outside, that adds just such another outstanding element to that offense. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in the. I'm gonna say flawed for now, because they still have Tyreek Waddle. I mean, they have weapons. They use most of the right, but at the same time. Seems like that as prolific as the offense was, it seems to be once you figure it out, it kind of changes things for
Mm-hmm.
Miami, as we saw, a couple weeks ago, got blasted by the 49ers. Lost, what's it, three
Mm-hmm.
straight losses now for them. So it's not, at the time of the year when you want to be at the top of your game and looking good, they're starting to fall off a little bit. Not what you want to see going into end of December,
No,
January
yeah.
type football. So we'll see. But if we know how that they can in the blink of an eye score. So yeah, flawed, but they're at the almost to that pretender just because I don't think that they. Yeah, I don't think that they have. I think it's more the mental to really, in a tough situation, that you're going to say, oh, the Dolphins are going to come out
Yeah,
on
for
top
sure.
here.
Like you mentioned, the Niners and the Chargers really just shut down that offense, and
And the Chargers are such an up
yeah,
and
for
down
sure.
team. And
So yeah,
then,
they got to figure that out, keep everybody healthy, improve a little bit on defense. But yeah, so they're definitely a team that you don't know what you're going to see week to week.
right.
7th seed as of right now, the Patriots at 7-6. They're a pretender from a just they don't really have a lot
Yeah.
of weapons. Mac Jones doesn't have a lot to work with on that team. They have trouble staying healthy. Stevenson's a great running back. He's a little banged up. We'll see how he does today.
hmm
Um, but yeah, so yeah, pretender.
Yeah, definitely a pretender. For the longest, people they sold us that, oh, what's his name, Jeff, so smart. He gets guys we never heard of and turns them into great players, and that's kind of biting them now. I mean, they don't have. a number one or a number two receiver in my book. Like there's no like I wouldn't want any of those guys on my team,
No, yeah, they don't.
honestly. As far as wide receivers there, I mean they're a team that just because of the way they play, I mean they keep games close, but you don't really. I mean, no one's. It's not the Patriots of the past. No one's scared of the Patriots. No one's awed by what they've done or anything at this point. I mean, they have to give some talent for Mac Jones to throw to. There's really
Yeah, for
nothing
sure.
there.
They need. They're another team like the Ravens. They need a number one receiver. They've got some guys that are good number twos. Um, they don't really have like a game breaking
Yeah,
receiver there. And defense
exactly.
is good, but not what it had been in the past. And like you mentioned, they haven't been
Right.
finding the gems the past 5 or so years in the drafts like they used to.
Yeah. And that's the defense. I think the defense is still pretty good. It's just a matter of the offense is so lackluster. Eventually
hmm
the dam breaks in the NFL. I mean, you could only keep your defense out so much, so long
for sure.
on the field. So,
So, like I said, they have the number 7 spot. They are being chased. They have a tiebreaker over the Chargers and Jets, who are also both 7-6. I don't see either of those
mhm.
teams being able to make a run.
No, just Chargers. They have been
hmm
so banged up, um, and they're so up and down. And the Jets, I mean, their whole QB situation is just
mm.
a mess. I mean, it's so bad last week. I mean, they kept on bringing Mike White in. Every time he got hurt, 2 play later, they wanted him
Oh, yeah.
over
He
Flacco.
got destroyed, too.
He was getting blasted and just coming
Yeah.
back in and coming back in. It's like, man, someone's got to pull the plug
Yeah.
on this shit. Like
Yeah, it's good effort, good defense on that team.
yeah, they're definitely a good defense. They definitely had that potential to be a good team, but I think they have to get that QB situation figured out. If Zach's not the guy, it's better to move on sooner than later, I would say. But we'll
Yeah.
see. Because I mean, and Sauce Gardner, I mean, he's definitely has Revis type of capabilities. So
Yeah, and they seem to have found another.
they ain't got
Yeah, they seem to have found another
weapons.
running back in that Zonovan Knight. He's had a couple good games. Kind of
Yeah,
quiet today, it looks like, but just without, they really lost so much with. Um, who am I thinking? Brees Hall going down.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was. I mean, he may have very well been rookie. He was at the point before he got hurt. He was definitely in that offensive rookie of the
absolutely.
year
And he just kind of
conversation
opened
for
up so many
sure.
things for
He's
them.
putting up
hmm
numbers and taking. Yeah, exactly. Just because I mean, it takes so much pressure off the passing game, and they have some good young
Oh, for sure.
receiving talent. Just have to get
Yeah,
the
between
quarterback
Garrett
play.
Wilson and uh, Elijah Moore, if he decides to stick around, we'll see about that. He's kind of demanded trades already,
Yeah,
but like you said, a lot of young talent there. Good building blocks for the future. Not really capable of making a run this year.
yeah,
After that, you got the Browns at six and
no,
eight, Jacksonville and Raiders and Steelers at 5-8. Nothing really. I don't even see any of them being
no,
playoff contenders really. So we'll
no, not at
move
all.
to the NFC. Uh, First seed, the Eagles, 12-1, playing a close game with the Bears right now, but obviously contender. I believe for both of
For
us.
sure,
That
definitely contender.
offense is just best offense in the league, not slowing down. Nobody's figured it out yet. Um,
Yeah, I mean, just because I mean you can't really figure it out because you think, oh, they're gonna run the ball, and then they
mhm,
have the receivers. I mean, you got technically two number ones as your 1 and 2. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that with AJ and
mhm.
Devontae. I mean, Jalen. I mean, he's improved so much on his passing game, and then of course we all know how well he can run the ball. I mean, he's just a prolific. he's turning just a prolific all around quarterback. I mean, you have to respect his passing game now too. So I mean, it's just they, um, I being a Cowboy fan is tough. Because I love to see Jalen doing well, love to see Devontae doing well, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
golly.
And then
Yeah,
don't they have is Landon Dickerson on that team too? Up front on the line, yeah.
yeah,
So a few
man.
Bama boys.
Yeah. So I mean,
Mhm,
we got a lot of Bama guys, and I know Washington has a lot of Bama guys too. And I'm like, my
mhm.
goodness.
But yeah, and like you mentioned, it's a week to week. You just don't know how they're going to beat you. They might run for 300 yards on you, or they might, Jalen might sling it around to AJ Brown and Devontae, and both of them go for like a $120 receiving and a couple touchdowns.
Right. And the defense keeps on
Yeah,
getting
then
nastier. For a while they were kind of questionable, and they've really gotten
it
better
is.
the
Yeah,
last
that's the
couple of
big
weeks.
thing. Best offensive football, best offensive line in football, and that defense is improving, and that's how you make deep runs. And when both their running game and passing game are clicking, that's just scary. I mean,
Yeah,
look right now, it
scary.
flashes on my screen right now in the red zone. They're in the middle of a 15-play, 76-yard drive. You can do
Yeah.
that, you can win in January in the NFL.
Oh yeah, for
Number
sure.
2 seed, a team that clinched their division yesterday, but not after a worrying first half. The Minnesota Vikings at 11-3. They were down 33-0 against the Colts.
The greatest comeback in football history, in
Finally
NFL
beat that
history.
Frank
The
Reich led
33-point
comeback of the
comeback.
Bills way back in the
Yeah,
day.
bet you the
Yeah,
Oilers
right.
are
Yeah.
happy. Someone
Someone
finally
can
got
stop talking about it.
them.
I'm going to go
But
flawed
that would
contender for them because you just
wow.
can't. They just done this so many times. When the Cowboys beat the ever loving hell out of them, they lose these weird
Yeah,
games and then they get down.
I mean Detroit made them look pedestrian last week.
Yeah, very. Yeah. And then I know they came back and won. That's great to be able to come back and win, but you can't go down 33
But it's
nothing to the Colts at home
at home.
on like a big Saturday, like, national spotlight game. Like, ooh.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they came back, went to
Had to start
overtime,
to
but man. And
man, you're playing a come playoff time. You get down 33-0. You're playing the
oh no,
Eagles. You're
yeah,
not
that
coming
game
back.
ends up 50 to 14 or something like that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, flaw. I mean, you almost want to put them in the pretender, but they're so talented. They have so much talent that you really can't. So definitely in the flawed thing, you just have to. What is their mental makeup? Because they've been all over the place.
yeah, and you look at what,
And
yeah, because the flaw, you like, all right, so what's the flaw? And it's kind of hard to figure out. You're like, well, they have all these weapons on offense, like Dalvin Cook in the backfield, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen,
yeah, I mean,
TJ Hawkinson catching passes, Kirk Cousins, like, he can, on his best day, he's a great quarterback, but then you don't know which Kirk
yeah,
you're getting. You don't know if that defense is going to play up to their
yeah.
potential
He
or,
looked great the first half, yeah,
oh, yeah. It's, and like you said, once you get into the playoffs,
horrendous.
that's not going to work. Um,
No,
So yeah, number 3 seed, another team that clinched their division yesterday or Thursday actually, the 49ers at 10-4. They are just on a winning streak. When did they won like 6 in a row now?
yeah, they're
They're
very
very
good.
good, very talented team. I'm going to put them in contender,
They're definitely in
even with
contender mode.
Brock Purdy.
I
Yeah.
guess yeah, even with Brock Purdy, yeah, that's the I guess that's the one question mark, and maybe it's not a question mark. Just a guy that never thought that he'd see the field at
hmm
all this year, and now he's the uh, leading the second hottest team in the
hmm
NFC. A lot on him, but he has a lot. Good thing, he's at a solid organization. They're gonna not put too much on him there. A great defense is gonna keep him in games. Just the running game with CMC there. They have Debo needs to get healthy again before the playoffs, but just so much talent. The defense is good, and they've not only been winning games recently, but they've been
Oh
wrecking
yeah,
fools.
yeah. Their defense gotten healthy, and now they're just shutting down opposing offenses. And that Shanahan offense is just, they're riding CMC. a guy, you got a receiver like or a back like him that can also catch 8, 10 balls a game out of the backfield. It's scary. They got
Exactly.
Debo should get healthy. I don't think his was a season-ending injury right
No,
now.
but you never know
That's
with
true.
those
Yeah,
knees. I think it was. You never know. But yeah, I mean, he come, sits out a couple weeks, comes back healthy for the playoffs, or as best as he can be at the end of the NFL season. No one's completely healthy, but
yeah,
as best as you can be. I mean, yeah, that's definitely a contender
yeah.
for sure.
The 4 seed, because the NFL still has weird little 4-team divisions. The 6-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So
I'm going to go with pretender. Just have not,
yeah,
yeah, pretender for
pretender.
sure. Haven't
And,
seen one thing that makes me think that,
no, not at
yeah,
all. But just with injuries, no consistency. If Tom Brady wasn't on that team, no one's even talking about the Bucks. They get no national attention. No one's mentioning them. Like they're out to the pasture. Like that's the only reason it even keeps them relevant is that Tom Brady's a quarterback
hmm yeah,
at this point.
it- yeah. And there's rumblings all of a sudden that he's going to go back to New England after this season. That'd be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he should just retire. It's okay, Tom. We believe you. You're the greatest. You don't need to prove anything else. Yeah.
You don't have to prove. Personally, I would have. He's a different
Mhm.
guy than me, of course. But after that last Super Bowl when they beat the Chiefs, I mean, that would have been I would have thought the best way to go have gone
Yeah,
out.
perfect, right?
But
You go one season, like, oh, I win. All right, cool. You know what? I'm good. Like, let's call it.
they kind of, kind of settled the debate for a lot of folks about which part was the better reason why we were who we
Hmm
were. In New England, because everybody's like, oh, is it Belichick? Is it Brady? I mean, if you go first season, you win again. You beat what everybody considers the best quarterback in the NFL, and the Mahomes. I mean, that would have been the perfect way to go out. Came close last year. This whole season's been a
hmm
mess. So, yeah, I don't know how much longer, how much energy you have after the way that just I guess some of the personal things really can really weigh on you there, with divorce and everything going. So I think he has a lot of decisions for the off season, and we'll see. But you know, you know, going back to New England would be weird. I've heard people say maybe he goes and ends in his old favorite in San Francisco. That'd be weird. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's yeah. You figure San Francisco, even if they might have two quarterbacks of the futures on their hands, Trey Lance and then Brock
Yeah.
Purdy. We'll see how he continues to
They
do. But
might they
yeah,
might have a they might have a whole quarterback controversy because of course Trey Lance is the guy they gave the big money to at the top number one quarterback draft pick. But if Brock Purdy takes you to the Super Bowl and then they're gonna do everything they can, I'm sure, because he was a top five draft pick to keep him um, as their as the quarterback. But that'd be interesting just to see what they do with Purdy
yeah,
there.
for sure. That's it's a good problem to have.
Oh yeah,
We'll
for
move
sure.
on to the number 5 seed, the 10-3 Dallas Cowboys. Your Cowboys. I'm going contender. That defense, you're always a contender. Their offense really starting to
Yeah,
show up the last few weeks too. CD Lamb on the
yeah,
outside, just having big games. All the other receivers, we talked. I think in your season preview, you talked about trading, Amari Cooper away, and not sure if that was a good decision, but the other guys have stepped
it
up. And
seems.
then that
Yeah,
two-headed monster in the backfield with Zeke and Tony Pollard.
yeah. Tony Pollard is. Yeah, they really figured that out with splitting the two. Yeah, and Tony Pollard. I mean, just so talented, just because has that double threat, can catch
Hmm
and run well. Zeke, is really gotten back to more Zeke like. I'm sure he heard all the rumblings of being
hmm
washed, and I'm sure that would motivate him some to get back to what he's done. But great double headed monster there. CD is really getting more into that number one role. That was the thing. Is he really a number one? He hasn't really embraced that. It seems to have gotten more comfortable in that slot. And the other guys really answer. Different weeks, different receivers, but they're showing up. But personally, I still have us as a flawed contender, only because being a I would love to say contender, but just knowing that what we do in the playoffs and some of the dumb stuff that we've done, and getting away from what works, like we got away from what worked last year in San Francisco, and sometimes you just don't know what Dak's gonna do. Um, you know, we're on the verge of being a contender, but just our recent history and what we've done in the playoffs, and uh, frustrating. But I mean,
Yeah, Mike
I
McCarthy is your
I
flaw.
want to put it as low as, yeah. Mike McCarthy's kind of the flaw. Kellen Moore has been much improved, I would say, at times. But sometimes you see him revert back and get away from what's working. So I think I'm taking maybe the cautious approach. Expect the least, and maybe the more will come from it. But
Yeah. So yeah. Hope for the best, expect the worst, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I expect, the worst, the bottom to drop out at the last possible second, because that's just what has been the case the last
Mhm.
20 years. So, but
So
yeah,
behind them at 6-7 are the Commanders and Giants, both at 7-5-1. I think we both agree they're pretenders for as far as Super Bowl runs. The Giants started off great, but they've really struggled the past few weeks.
yeah, struggle
The
mightily.
Commanders, they're another team that they got a good structure there, but this isn't their year. Another team that needs to find a true number one quarterback. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't even know if they could, because right now, Washington would go to Minnesota. Now they could beat Minnesota. That's any.
yeah,
Oh
that's a
no, sorry,
possibility.
Washington would go to the 49ers first round. So no, never mind. Uh, the
No,
the
no
Giants would
chance.
go to
Yeah,
Minnesota.
if they're going, if they were, yeah. I mean, if they're going to Minnesota,
Yeah.
that might be one that would be talking about the possible upset there.
Yeah, if there's a way you could try to lose to if you were sure to stay in the playoffs but get that 7 seed, you might want to do that and go to Minnesota as opposed to San Francisco.
Yeah, I think a much better opportunity to at least stay in
Hmm.
contention there, because I don't think Washington's not beating San
Hmm.
Francisco. Not too many teams are at
Yeah,
this
yeah,
point.
I'm not sure who is beside maybe Philly. Dallas has a chance for sure.
Yeah,
So behind them, outside of the playoffs right now, the Seahawks at 7-7. We mentioned they lost to the Niners Thursday night.
yeah, I think they're kind of done. I mean, it was coming into the season, nobody really expected much out of them, and I think they've done much better than what folks have thought. Gino coming in, taking over for Russell Wilson. Overall, has had a heck of a season stat wise, but I think it's just coming down to more to reality of they're just not wasn't supposed to be a great team, and I think they overachieved a little to start the season.
For
So
sure. Another
coming
good
down
story.
to reality.
But yeah. The Lions are behind them at 6-7. Still a good shot to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been playing good
Are
football
they
as of late,
still
for
leading their
sure.
game right now? I haven't seen that flash on the screen in a couple minutes.
I haven't seen that in a little bit. I know that they
Yeah,
were
against the
winning.
Jets, close one there. See, your Cowboys just got maybe a game clinching fumble recovery on defense. Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence trying to
I
make a
saw
play with his legs and just got a helmet to the elbow. Lost that
that.
football. And it's hard to you can talk ball security all you want, but someone puts a helmet on your elbow.
Yeah, it's
Uh
not. Sometimes it's not so much.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
not much you can do is right.
And he had a big run there too before that. So
Behind them, but that's a good story. The Lions, who started out pretty poorly this year, they have turned it on. They
yeah,
play hard.
really,
Jared Goff has kind of had a career resurgence there.
really has. Because I mean, you think, man, this man's gonna go to Detroit to die.
Yeah, exactly. That was
Our
a
careers die in Detroit.
throwaway trade. You thought they'd just taken on the contract to
Yeah,
get the picks, and that's another thing. They have some great picks coming up. Their team with
yeah,
they have the Rams picks, and the Rams have been so awful this year that that's gonna.
that's going to
Mm-hmm,
benefit from.
yeah, they're gonna be able to really draft some players. They got great young receiving core. St. Brown there. Our boy Jameson Williams,
Mhm.
first career touchdown catch
Yeah.
was a 42-yard touchdown last week.
So that
Mm-hmm.
explosiveness.
They got two good running backs in DeAndre Swift and uh, the other guy Jamal Williams scores all the touchdowns. So yeah, that's another. And they're
Mm-hmm.
tough on defense. That's a tough team to play against.
Yeah,
So maybe things looking up for Detroit for once. Um,
yeah, that is one thing. Like, Dan Campbell. I mean, the players really seem to like him. They play hard for him there. Seems like a pretty passionate
mhm.
coach.
Yeah. It seems they really like him, and that says a lot. If they play hard for you, then that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Behind the lines, the Packers are at 5-8, but they really don't have a clear shot to make the playoffs. But two other 5-8 teams, the Panthers and Falcons, do via that because they can win the horrible AFC South. I mentioned,
Yeah, the
yeah,
NFC South is so bad.
I mentioned that. It's just the divisions are awful in the NFL. That might be a good off-season podcast. We'll get to maybe realigning the divisions or conferences, seeing if we
or
could figure
just
out. Yeah,
or just not having divisions.
yeah.
Just you have your just NFC and AFC. I mean, you could still align to have your rivalry games. You can, of course, you could have the same type of matchups. The NFC East. You could keep the same structures as far as scheduling, but just get rid of the
Mm-hmm.
divisions.
Yeah.
To save some of the rivalries and stuff like that if you really want to. I know that some of that means a lot. I mean, you don't want to get rid of the Cowboys rivalries with their division, or the Saints Falcons, things like that, or the NFC South rivalries and things like that. But I mean, the divisions really, I don't know. Tampa Bay or whoever comes out the South, it may not even be at 500, is going to have a home game in the playoffs. I mean, at some point they got to get away from that.
Yeah, yeah. You have to do something to get, so where a team with a losing record potentially doesn't host a playoff game. And I know we've seen it in the past, that the beast mode, Marshawn Lynch run game when that was,
Yes,
I think, a 7-9
but
Seahawks
yeah,
team.
7 and 19. But I mean, that's so unlikely to
Exactly.
happen. I mean,
And this year, it's not the biggest deal because some years there might be where like a team finishes 10-6 or whatever, I guess 10-7 under the new schedule, and they would miss the playoffs because of some 8-8 team
oh yeah,
winning their division. We're not going to see that this year
exactly.
necessarily, but yeah, the NFL needs to
We've
figure out
seen it in
something.
the past. I guess there's a couple of times when I know that one year that when the Jets won the AFC, well, that's been a while, but when the Jets won the AFC East, see, year Tom Brady was out and they went like 11-5 on the season and missed the
Mm,
playoffs. And it's been some other times a team have gone 10-6, missed the playoffs. It's like what?
yeah. So
I think Arizona missed the playoffs a couple years ago at 10-6.
yeah, you got to figure something
So,
out with the NFL to make sure you
there's,
get your best teams
there's
in there.
that. You got to get your best seven in the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. Like divisions, be damned. Like you can't reward someone for
No.
mediocrity. Because winning the NFC South this year, come on. Not saying a
Not
lot.
at all. And as we talked, the Saints finished knocking off the Falcons, so now that division is just a
That's
mess.
final. Yeah, because but they got it out to that quick with 14-0 lead there. Look like they're gonna roll,
Mhm.
but that game is always comes down to the last play or
Yeah,
two. No matter who's good, who's bad in that game's gonna come down to
yes.
last couple of plays every
So
time.
now makes the standings Tampa Bay at 6-7, Carolina at 5-8, and then the Saints and Falcons are both 5-9. Um, Carolina is still Are they still going? I think they're still playing right now, and the Bucks play the late afternoon window.
And the Bucks play the
Yep.
Bengals.
So that'd be an interesting one there. Uh, let's see. The Eagles are finally putting some space between themselves and the Bears. Jalen Hurts his third rushing touchdown of the game. Cowboys still holding on, trying to. The Jaguars still have a shot here.
Trying to win. Jaguars still, yeah, started. Well, mine may be a little different to yours, but yeah, right now third because I'm on the iPad. But third and 10, on their own 30.
Yeah,
Still got about 50 seconds. As we know, all you need is about 13 to get up the
yeah,
field.
it's true. Yeah, I think I'm about 15 seconds ahead of you on that as far as game time. So I'll let you see that. We also
Yeah,
have the
I'm just
Chiefs and Texans are still tied. The Chiefs with the ball late,
yeah.
trying to drive to win that
So I'm
game.
telling you, like the Chiefs, just they don't blow out
Mm-mm.
anyway. They play close with everybody. That's
Yeah, one of
weird.
those maybe
Like,
play down to their opponent's level teams, which in the
right,
NFL that'll burn you. And that's a college thing. A lot of teams. Alabama used to do that back in the heyday of their. Oh, a big Lions touchdown. Fourth and inches at midfield, and they threw a little like tight end and slipped out and threw it into flat, and he took it
crazy.
about 50 yards for the score. So
Man,
that would give the Lions a 2017 lead if they hit the extra point with about a minute 50 left for the Jets. Maybe they need to put in Joe Flacco. He's had a comeback
he's
under 2 minutes this year.
had a couple comebacks.
Uh,
Oh,
but
Joe
yeah, that should
Flacco.
do it for our
Hard to
NFL
think
talk
he's gonna.
this week anyway.
Yeah.
We'll probably pop in with some reactions here as it happens. But since next week is Christmas, we will not record. But so we will preview the college football playoffs right now for you, at least the semifinal games. As we know, we have Michigan and TCU in the Fiesta Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and Georgia and Ohio State in the Peach Bowl. We'll go Michigan TCU first. They kick off 3 Central, I think, on New Year's Eve. Greg, who do you like in that one?
I think it's gonna be a lot closer than what people think. I think a lot of people see Michigan rolling TCU. I think Michigan probably wins the game, but I think it's gonna be much closer than what a lot of people think going into that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michigan close.
Yeah, I probably tend to agree with you. We've kind of talked about those teams that always play it close. Eventually, it gets them. That's might be TCU this year. Michigan might just have too much power on the interior for the Horned
Yeah,
Frogs.
that's the thing. Like, it's probably the most talented team that TCU will play all year. So
Yeah, for sure.
top to
By
bottom.
far. But it should be a good one. Michigan's, they blow out some lesser teams, but
Right.
they also haven't
They,
played really at TCU. They played Ohio State, but they haven't really played a dynamic team like TCU.
dynamic
Mm-hmm.
offense like that. Yeah. And those games, TCU's playing with house money.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, there's no expectation of them doing anything. They've far exceeded where they were supposed to be at. The first year head coach coming off a losing season and in the playoff. Can't ask for much else. I think they're going to come in. They're going to be loose. They're going to be ready to go. I just think, talent maybe a little, it's going to be maybe a little different there if Michigan wins late, but they're going to give it a go, and I think it's going to be a lot better game than some people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you. I think Michigan maybe, even if they end up winning by a couple of scores, it'll be a close one for most of the game. Maybe
Yeah.
Michigan just kind of grinds them out. Oh, and Harrison Butker misses another field goal for the Chiefs. Would have been the game winner.
He's been up and down. He missed the extra point earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some tough ones.
Yeah, that not what you want if you're a Chiefs fan.
Hmm.
We'll move on to the Peach Bowl. Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State kind of backed into the playoff there after getting blown out by Michigan. With USC's loss to Utah in the Pac-12 title game, Ohio State got that 4 spot. Their reward for that is to play the undefeated number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, defending champs, SEC champs, just Stetson Bennett and the Killers. What do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen there, Greg?
Of course, Georgia wins the game, but I think that's another one. It's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think people just think Georgia's at home pretty much in Atlanta. They're just going to roll Ohio State, but I think a month of the Buckeyes hearing that, and we know they have a lot of talent. We've seen the time that Georgia has struggled against the passing
Mm-hmm.
game. I mean, they they handled LSU, but they still gave up 500 yards passing. And C.J. Stroud definitely. Well, I mean, Hendon Hooker, of course, in the season probably, of course, the best quarterback they saw. But C.J. Stroud, definitely the best quarterback they've seen all year, as far as their competition. So I think Ohio State may is gonna come in with a chip on their shoulder, just because no one's really giving them a shot. But Georgia, I think they're just too talented defensively to lose the game. They're going. I think they're gonna get maybe punched in the mouth early, get scored on, but they're gonna adjust to the game and you know take those things away later that they may be open there early with those wide receivers that Ohio State has. Because man, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm.
is a beast.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I've been back and forth on it. On one hand, Georgia is kind of very similarly built to Michigan. Um,
Yeah,
and, we saw what Michigan did to Ohio State. They were built really just to beat Ohio State.
yeah,
And Georgia's
yeah.
similar, but with better talent. So, on that hand, I think, we could see another ugly semifinal game.
Yeah,
On the
yeah,
other,
you are, you are correct.
yeah. On the other, I do think that maybe this also could be similar to last year's SEC title game where everyone was counting Alabama out. Everyone said, okay, Georgia's going to roll
Mhm.
easy. They got a superior defense. They're just tougher. And then Alabama came out with that passing game, as you mentioned. Georgia can struggle against it and just threw all over them. And Ohio State
Mhm.
has the similar build to that Alabama team where they have a Heisman caliber quarterback. They have excellent receivers on
Yeah,
the outside. They have playmakers in the
mhm.
backfield. You know,
Yeah,
we've talked about it multiple times as uh, this might be the most talented team in the country in top to bottom in terms of, stars and just, talented
yeah,
players, future draft picks.
tons of time.
So the other part of me thinks that maybe Ohio State could just come in and shock the world, maybe not beat down Georgia like, Alabama did that title game, but
Mhm.
beat them still. I tend to agree with you. I think Georgia will pull it out in the end. But like you said, I think it's going to be. I don't think it's a guarantee that it's a blowout. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia did it, but I don't think it's a guarantee like everyone says. I think Ohio State now they've gotten a second win. They got kind of like the 2017 playoffs where Alabama lost to Auburn and then got in a four
Yeah,
seed and then reminded everybody like, hey, we're Alabama for a reason and
why
won
they,
the title.
yeah,
Or even Ohio State's 2014 year when they kind of snuck in as the four seed and then they went through,
right.
you know,
Beat us and
beat
then
Alabama and
beat
then beat
Oregon pretty soundly.
yeah, exactly, and then they won the title themselves. So I think we're gonna have a couple good games. Of course, now that we
Yeah.
said that, we'll probably have two huge blowouts.
Probably two lopsided games, and it's going to be Michigan, Georgia by halftime of each.
Yeah,
But
but
sorry, guys.
so yeah, we hope to not see that. Oh man.
We've done it before.
Hmm.
If you've so Ohio State fans, I'm sure you guys listen to our podcast religiously. We're sorry because if you followed our MLB ones, we're sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the um, but yeah, so I think that, and then we'll talk about the title game when closer to that time comes.
Yeah.
Um, you have anything else to say about any bowl games that have happened so far?
Well, it's kind of crazy. It took me a second being realized that the game started on Friday. I'm so used to starting on that Saturday, and I was like, "Oh shit, we
Yeah.
got both games." So I'm at work, and it was a pretty busy day, but I was trying to do my best to keep up with that UT San Antonio Troy game because of just looking at bowl games going into the thing. I mean, that was one of the ones I was, kind of really keeping an eye on, just because two very solid teams. They're 11-2 conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it was a pretty entertaining game. Man, Florida though, boy, they got
Oof.
slaughtered yesterday. That was ugly.
Yeah, that almost looked like Oregon State deserved a better bowl than that, and they
Yeah, I mean they went. I mean, what did they have? 2 or 3 losses
three.
on the
I think
year.
they
Beat
finished 10 and
Oregon.
3
Like,
now. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yikes. Yeah, I think I made a stats about that yesterday. Like, man, maybe they deserved a better bowl than the before Christmas bowl game on the against the 6-6 Gators team without their quarterback, and
mm-hmm. But Florida did score, so they continue their
yeah,
streak of
preserved their
not getting shut out.
longest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's been since '88, which is actually pretty impressive. But
it's very impressive. But yeah, at the same time, they were talking about on the broadcast too. Like, what are you doing? Like, go for it.
yeah, what does this prove?
Exactly. Yeah, like no one cares. It's a little bit. It reminded me of. I guess it would have been our. I can't remember sophomore, junior year. Whenever the year that LSU and
So
USC
when
split the
Arizona
title.
sophomore year,
Yeah, sophomore year
yeah, sophomore year, and they came in and they just beat the shit out of us.
drilled Alabama. Yeah, sophomore year in Tuscaloosa, and we're down 27-0 or something like that. And then we had I believe we was like 4th and goal from the 1 or 2, and
Yeah,
Shula sent
we
in the
kicked it.
field goal unit to so we didn't get shut out. And I believe that
And we
was
lose like 31-3 or something in
yeah,
there.
I believe at that point me and you got up and we're like, all right, fine, we're leaving. Like we don't care about this thing. Go for it. Like just go for it. I'd
Let's
respect you
go
more if
for
you go for the touchdown and don't get it than you
it.
just kick a damn field goal.
Oh, we're going to overtime with the Jags.
I saw that.
Great.
Yeah, overtime with
This
the
is a game though
Jags.
that
Ooh.
trap games.
The Jets had a shot to tie it up themselves and just a horrible missed field goal there.
I
Uh,
saw that.
the Chiefs and Texans still tied, and they're in overtime themselves. So, yeah, kind
It's been
of one of those weird
a lot of
late season
overtime.
weeks in the NFL.
It seems to have been a lot of overtime games this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which we won't complain, even though I do hate the NFL's overtime still.
I loathe the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first
So
team can
I
get a touchdown and win it, but if they get a field goal, then the other team's got a chance. And if no, yeah,
like this either I say either A go all. It's either sudden death for everybody or everybody gets a shot. Like I don't care how you score. It's either sudden death or it's not.
yeah.
And you can't. I hate that differentiation. Like
I know that we talked about the World Cup. I know a lot of people hate penalties and ending the game on that. And if you just went straight from regulation to penalties, that would annoy me. But I think the way soccer does it, where they have the 2 extra little overtime halves and then they get to penalties.
yeah,
I don't see why we can't in the NFL put like say 8 minutes on the clock for overtime and just be like, all right, here, play this little half quarter, and the score at the
or
end of
even
this is the score.
have that with the 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do another
Have the
10
10 minutes.
minutes. Exactly. And whoever wins, like coin flip, get a kickoff. That way special team still has it. And then if you get to the playoffs and maybe you want to end it sooner, you don't want to get these guys hurt, then maybe you switch to like the college version. So you go 10-minute regular quarter, just play it, the score at the end. If it's still tied after that, then go to the college thing where, okay, teams will alternate possessions from the 25 until we get a winner here.
Exactly. Yeah. The fact that, and there's always those people that are like, well, they should have just stopped them, and then they would. Come on, stop it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I hate those people are the worst. Like last year, in that Kansas City Buffalo game. Of course, yeah, we like Buffalo probably should have been able to hold on for 13 seconds, and then they gave away that touchdown on their first possession and didn't even get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been calling, people are, oh, you just started talking about that because of this game. No, I've been wanting this gone for a long time. Like, it doesn't matter. Regular season, playoffs, like, the fact that you can just not even get on the field to have the chance to score and maybe more or less based on the coin toss is just ridiculous.
It is. There's no other sport that does it like that, and it's dumb.
Just play the 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, play another 10 minutes. It's okay to have ties in the regular season, people. I know Americans hate that, and NHL even changed their rules to have these weird little overtime lost points. Just you can have a tie in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, just like we said, put 10 minutes on the clock. If you're still tied after that, then go to the college overtime. And college should do the same thing. Like at least in college, everybody gets a chance, but then you take special teams out of it, and then now the dumb new little 2-point conversion game
Oh,
after the third overtime. Yeah,
well, who? Yeah, the I don't know, the rules committee. Whoever sat around and thought that that was a good idea, those people need to. I loathe that. Like I actually enjoy, and I know a lot of people think it's stupid. I like the 25 thing. I think I've always enjoyed the overtime for college, starting at the 25 and then going for two after the third, and starting the third time. But the
yeah,
fact that they changed it that you go for two after the second overtime automatically, I don't know. I thought
it's
I don't
weird.
like
Yeah, I
it,
don't
but
like it. It's more up to who has the better kind of trick plays or in their playbook,
yeah.
and uh, it solves the problem that wasn't there. They're like, well, we're trying to cut down on these long overtime games because they had an 8 overtime game. It's like
But
it
it hasn't
happens
happened that
once
much.
every 10 years. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
And then you look at last year, was it the Penn State Illinois game? They went
It
8
went to
overtimes anyway.
nine overtimes. Yeah, because nobody could score.
Yeah,
2 point
it's
conversion play.
yeah, that was embarrassing for both of those teams. But yeah, so fix your overtimes football.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the biggest sport, most popular sport in the world, would figure it out. Well, not the world, but the U.S. of course.
Yeah.
That you guys would figure it out that it gives because the casual fan that's not watching every week religiously, or maybe not even have a team, and just enjoys watching the game here and there, and coming to the playoffs, they're gonna be pissed off. A situation like a Buffalo Bills and Kansas City
Mm-hmm.
came into last year, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Well, and here we go. The Chiefs just walked it off. A McKinnon run. It looks like. Um, all right. Well, that'll just see what else do we got. Do you have anything? Let's see. Alabama basketball got themselves into the top 5.
Man, yeah,
They did lose to Gonzaga yesterday, 100-90. Good game. The refs a little shady, but Gonzaga earned it.
yeah, a little
Uh,
questionable there, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would say the big thing for Alabama just have to get better defensively there.
Hmm.
Gave up a lot of points there. They're and I think a lot of that just has to do with Burnett getting back. I know he had that wrist surgery on Tuesday. I mean, he was
Hmm.
probably our best defensive player, and against Houston, he really put the clamps on Sasser. Like he did a heck of a
Hmm.
job, and that's the kind of leader of the defense. You can definitely tell we're missing him. But we let the 10th year senior, swear Drew Timmy's been in school for 20 years now, but
Yeah, he
we
was.
let him.
Feels like he was Adam Morrison's teammate.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
still a good week. You mentioned that Houston win. That was cannot
I mean, you
talk
got to
about
think.
Alabama without talking about that. We're down 15 in the second
Yeah,
half on the
15.
road to the
It's
number
looking
one team.
bad.
Came back and
Like,
won.
here we go. Yeah, I mean, and Houston, I mean, they have a heck of a program. I mean,
Hmm.
Kelvin Sampson, probably the most underappreciated coach in college basketball.
Yeah,
I mean,
despite a
I mean,
little shady past with his infractions, but he's got that
but,
Houston program working.
I mean, that's a hostile environment. It's not the big stadium, but it's a loud one,
Hmm.
a loud arena to go into, and you have to come back like that on the road down 15. I mean, that's been the past been where Bama falters and
Hmm.
just falls apart. And yeah, came through. Huge win. Able to get a solid win on was that Tuesday night against Memphis,
Yep,
and then you
which
know,
Auburn could not do.
and then last night. I mean, it hurt a little bit because I mean this is not maybe the Gonzaga teams of past couple of years, but I mean there's still a formidable opponent there. But you had chances there. Yeah, some questionable officiating. But it's just a matter of bouncing back and getting ready for the SEC play. This is the part of the season, unfortunately, where we fell apart last year after a good December. We just have to, And I think we're just a completely different team, just a different mindset, a whole bunch of different players. No bad. I thought we had some bad apples last year as far as me. It seems to be a much better team. So it's just a matter of bouncing back and the SEC play. We have a easy Jackson State game and then Mississippi State. I think right around New Year's, start the SEC play. So I
Yeah, for
like
sure.
what.
And you got to enjoy the only two losses right now that the Tide have are to unbeaten UConn and to Gonzaga, who's
I mean,
a solid program. So
the programs, yeah.
you can't. Oh, I'm gonna let you watch that here in a couple of seconds when your TV catches up to mine. Uh, but yeah, so a good beginning for the Alabama
Yep.
basketball team.
Yeah, man. I
You gotta
mean,
like what we've seen. Like you said, we need to get
Brandon Miller, my goodness, and he's
oh
special.
man, very special. Just absolutely amazing athlete, best freshman, best Alabama player we've had, and probably definitely since Colin
Even better,
Sexton. Yeah.
and from arguably better than Colin Sexton as far as
Mm-hmm.
just his overall versatility. Like Colin
Yeah.
was a definite scorer there, but I think just Miller's just all more all over the place. I think he's more. I think just his, I guess, a more consistent scorer as far as like he doesn't really have bad shooting nights. He's
Yeah. I'm guessing you've now caught up to the Cowboys game here.
we're about to see.
Okay.
Oh, oh, oh
Oh, there
no.
it is.
Oh, God. And that's why people I have us as
Flawed contender.
right there.
Oh man, yeah, that's for those that weren't watching, bounced off that wasn't CD, that was who's 85.
Oh, that's Brown.
Yeah, bounced off Brown's hands and
Mm.
defensive back for the Jaguars right there to catch the bounce and take it to the other way for a pick six and a walk off win in overtime for the Jaguars.
Off win, and we were up 24-10 at one point.
Yeah, tough loss to Cowboys there. But going back to Alabama basketball, they get Jackson State next on, let's see, what's that, Tuesday. And then they begin SEC play on the 28th with a road trip to Mississippi State. Tough opening schedule in the SEC play. They go at State, home for Ole Miss and Kentucky, then at Arkansas.
Oof.
Um,
So,
yeah, that's rough.
yeah,
And then they
hopefully,
have a mhm.
yeah, we love to win that Kentucky game. And that seems to be our nemesis. Like I don't know, it's like Kentucky always has our number. Would love to
Yeah,
get that win.
for sure. That would be a
They're,
great one to get
they're
early
going,
this
yeah,
season.
going on the road too. Going the road to Fayetteville is always a tough because they're it's rocking. That place gets rocking, and that Bud Walton Arena, and then the down. That's a very athletic Hogs team, and they get running. Boy, you gotta keep them contained because that team is crazy good.
Mm-hmm. Any NBA thoughts you have?
NBA thoughts, man. I guess the biggest one just how badly Memphis throttled the Bucks the other night. My
Oh,
goodness.
Lord, did they? And then a weird thing, John Morant got kicked out of the game, was it last night,
Mm-hmm.
because a ref heard him talking shit about him to a fan. Uh, it was a really weird ejection.
Come on, bro. It's not about
But
you.
yeah, but right, a quick snapshot of the standings in the East. You got the Celtics, Bucks, Cavs as your top three seeds. In the
Mm-hmm.
West, you got Memphis, the Grizz, the Pelicans, who have just been on a
The
tear
Pelicans have been playing
past week.
great basketball.
Um, did lose yesterday to the Suns. Devin Booker dropping 58.
58. Yeah.
Tough to win when the guy scores 58 on you, but the Pels still the 2 seed, and then the Nuggets, they're sitting at the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Your Mavericks still right at that 500 mark.
Yeah. I did like fact yesterday. Kimba dropped like 30. So, but yeah, we're so up and down. Like still have to find a consistent number two.
Yeah, exactly. Like we talked about that, I believe, last episode we did.
Yeah.
Luca needs a right hand man, so I'm gonna help him out there.
Exactly.
Uh, Yeah, that's it. I think nothing real big news. The biggest news I think I saw today: Anthony Davis hurt yet again. No one's surprised
Hmm.
there. He'll be out multiple weeks. It says with a foot injury, and those foot injuries for those big guys like that could just linger on and
Yeah,
on.
that could. Yeah, who knows, Mr. Glass over there.
For real. Kawhi's back for the Clippers, and they're kind of maybe they might be someone that's rounded into shape, and then everything else is trade rumors. So we'll see
Oh
that.
yeah,
Trade deadline's not till February something, so we'll
February,
see.
right around All Star break.
Yeah, funniest one I've seen so far is that maybe Kyle Kuzma could go back to LA.
Hmm.
So we'll see. It's been a decent season so far, and now with football dwindling down, more attention will be paid to the
Oh yeah,
NBA.
that's usually when after that Christmas is after the Christmas matchups is kind of when the NBA starts to really take off as far as like the fans that have kind of switched from football to the more attention to the NBA and the college basketball game. But
Yeah. Any other sports thoughts for you this week?
I guess it's been talked about everywhere. But just to pass on a Mike Leach there, you know, uh, quite an interesting guy there. You hear a lot of good stories about him there. It seemed like overall, though, he was a quirky guy. He seemed to be a pretty, pretty nice guy overall, I would say. And heard some good stories about him. But
Yeah, big loss for college football community.
yeah, and just what he brought, and that just the air raid offense, and then you look
Mhm.
at it, his coaching tree under him is actually pretty impressive. A lot of big names there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always funny to watch an innovative offense like him. You see all these other coaches these days. There's big old play cards on the sideline, and they look like
Hmm.
Waffle House menus. And
Yeah, exactly.
Mike Leach has this little folded up piece of paper that fits in the palm of his hand, and that's his play card. It's
Yeah,
everything was a basis off kind of just a small number of plays. They branched out
yeah,
off of that.
exactly.
So big loss on the field for Mississippi State and off the field for them and the entire college football community.
Yeah, for sure.
Hate him or love him, he was a character,
He
and
was a
like you
character.
said, nothing but glowing words for him coming out this
Some of
week
the
after his passing.
stories, like the one about the kid who got onto the field and he had been playing YMCA football at center, so Mike Leach had the centers come over and work with them, and he came back to another game at the end of the season, and the GA came over and was like, "Hey, are you so and so?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, Mike Leach, why don't you come on the field and show him what you've been doing?" It's like, man, the fact that he remembers some random kid in the middle of the SEC season, I mean, that's something special right there.
Absolutely. Um, Mississippi State did promote their defensive coordinator to
That's
full time
probably
head coach.
probably a
Yeah.
good thing. Seemed like that was well, well liked guy. You just want to keep things as cool as possible in a tough situation. So probably a good.
Hmm.
And it's pretty ironic that the season's going to end in Tampa. With the pirate ship, and he was the pirate. So that's kind
I
of
know, right?
storybook kind of craziness.
All right. So our hearts go out to his family and loved ones. Moving on from that, Greg. So we'll end it with excuse me, as we usually do. What has been done up real good for you this week?
Done up for me good this week. Just everybody was kind of sick this past week, but everybody seems to be on the mend. Before we get into this Christmas week. So, just happy to see everybody getting back and healthy before we get everybody gets out of school and stuff and work for the holidays. So, how about
Absolutely. Me myself. Well, my son came home from the hospital this week,
that?
so that is great news. No more running back and forth from the hospital. He is home. He's healthy. Me and mom are getting no sleep, as everyone warned us. So, but at least all we got to do is walk from one side of the house to the other. We don't
Exactly.
have to leave. So that'd be fun. Grandparents finally getting to meet him
Oh
after
yeah.
his little hospital stay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a happy, healthy baby, sleeps a lot, and then, lets us know when he's hungry for sure.
Yeah,
But
and that's the thing of that's the beauty of kids. They don't work and they're always hungry.
yeah, being introduced to that, yeah, I'm already racking up all the things, starting his tab.
Oh yeah, it'll get big
Um,
quick.
but all right then, folks, that will do it for us. As we mentioned, next week is Christmas, so no episode after that. We do hope everyone has a happy holidays out there. Keep safe, keep warm out there. Do enjoy the rest of all of our great content here on the Alabama Take, both podcast and on the site. Greg, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you as well, and we will get back together after the new year.
Absolutely. We'll see you.
Yes, sir.